Nigerian government raises the alarm over chemical nuclear attacks from Boko Haram. In what appears to be a fresh twist to the attacks by the Boko Haram terrorist group in the northeast, the federal government has raised the alarm that the SH alliance with the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria increases the possibility of it Boko Haram deploying chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear and explosive attacks in the future. The federal government noted that the proliferation of the CBRNE weapons, their means of delivery, the spreading of technological skills required for their production and the possibility of their use constitutes a threat to national security. In a 60-page document titled National Security Strategy, whose foreword was written by the President, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, retired, and was released during the week by the Office of the National Security Advisor, a copy of which was obtained by one of our correspondents. The federal government, however, stressed that there was the need for a counter strategy to address the threat. The document, which was last released in 2014, contains the plan of action by the government to combat the security and other threats facing the country. According to the NSC, Major General Babagana Mungono, retired, the document is to ensure that Nigeria's sovereignty, territorial integrity, national interest, well-being of the people and the country's institutions are preserved, protected and enhanced. Prior to the latest possibility of using the CBRNE weapons, the Boko Haram insurgency had ravaged the country since 2009, particularly the northeast, and is said to have claimed more than 22,000 lives, comprising both civilians and soldiers, while over 2.3 million persons, including women and children, have been displaced and are now taking refuge in various internally displaced persons camps across the country. The terrorists have also lost thousands of their fighters to the war, as many of them have been killed by the military. But according to reports, the insurgents also recruit innocent villagers and underage girls, often used as side bombers, to carry out the attacks, in addition to enlisting fighters from foreign countries. It can be recalled that the African Union warned through an intelligence report that over 6,000 Africans who fought for ISIS might be returning to the continent. Thus, the AU warned its member countries to work closely with one another and share information to counter the returning militants. AU's Commissioner for Peace and Security, Smile Chaju, said in Agres, Algeria, during a meeting, there are reports of 6,000 African fighters among 30,000 foreign elements who joined this terrorist group in the Middle East. The return of these elements to Africa poses a serious threat to our national security and stability and requires specific treatment and intense cooperation between African countries. Following the report, experts in security matters warned that Nigeria might be sitting on a time bomb as the fighters were likely to join forces with Boko Haram. The analyst warned that if the federal government failed to quickly install security measures to counter the potential threat, the insurgency could increase in the country. And according to reports, the attacks by insurgents increased after the alarm raised by the AU. The violent attacks by the insurgents, despite the resistance by the military, had led to the emergence of the multinational joint task force to combat the terrorists, especially in tackling insurgency in the Lake Chad Basin, which, according to Buhari in an address in September 2019, had become like an abode for the terrorists. But dwelling on the possibility of the CBRNE attacks by the insurgents, the ONSA's December 2019 security document said transnational organized crime such as illicit financial flow and money laundering, drug and human trafficking, proliferation of small arms and light weapons, as well as proliferation of chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear and explosive weapons have a direct impact on our national security. Said the proliferation of CBRNE weapons and their means of delivery, the spreading of technological skills required for their production and the possibility of their use constitute a threat to our security. Although the implementation of international agreements hinder the proliferation of CBRNE and their means of delivery, the risk of such weapons and materials being acquired by terrorist groups and reaching states providing support for terrorist groups cannot be overstated. The terrorist groups such as ISIS are believed to have sought to possess CBRNE weapons. Boko Haram terrorist affiliation to ISIS and their willingness to use any deadly weapons at their disposal increases the possibility of a CRBN attacks in the future, thereby underscoring the need for a counter strategy. As far back as 2015, the insurgents, a faction formerly led by Abubakar Shekau and other one by Banawi, had joined alliances with the Islamic State terrorists. Specifically, in March 7, audio message Boko Haram leader Shekau reportedly pledged allegiance to ISIS. And in response, the spokesperson for ISIS, Abu Muhammad al-Dani, according to a CNN report, announced in a 28-minute unverified audio message that the pledge of allegiance by the Boko Haram had been accepted by the ISIS leader. Abu Kabra Baghdadi, who was later killed by the United States Special Forces operation in northwest Syria on October 26, 2019. US President Donald Trump announced the al-Baghdadi's death on October 27, 2019. Al-Adnani's message, which was posted online by ICC supporters, said the Caliphate of Islamic State had expanded to Western Africa while congratulating our jihadi brothers there. Boko Haram affiliation with ISIS birthed a faction, the Islamic State West African Province, popularly called ISWAP, which is regarded as a deadlier faction. The ISWAP fighters, according to the military sources, have more funding to procure sophisticated weapons as well as daring attacks on the troops' locations to steal guns or trucks and other heavy ammunitions. Wow, this is really ridiculous. A report by Punch newspaper on September 22nd, 2019 detailed how military commanders at the battlefront complained that ISWAP fighters used modern, sophisticated weapons while the soldiers used outdated and refurbished weapons and equipment, including failing Shika guns procured during the administration of late Alhaji Shehu Shagari, who was the president of Nigeria between 1979 and 1983. The commanders noted that beyond using drones, the insurgents were now using night vision goggles, thermal detectors, and other modern equipment to attack the Nigerian troops, which according to them was responsible for the increased attacks on the soldiers. The Nigerian Army had earlier in November 2018 revealed that the insurgents were using drones and foreign fighters. One of the commanders said, the ISWAP is highly advanced in technology and in training, and that is obvious in the way they attack us. They are also very innovative. In fact, if I can, I will call them magicians. Yes, we keep fighting them with the obsolete equipment we are supplied with, and that is why we are losing men. Those terrorists, especially ISWAP, are very deadly and confident, and they now use foreign mercenaries who are foreign terrorists. They are well equipped, and that is why they launch RPGs cheaply and easily. About a week earlier, the president at the extraordinary summit of the Authority of the Economic Community of West African States, heads of states and governments on counter-terrorism in Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso on September 14, 2019, said the ease with which the terrorists raised funds and acquired sophisticated weapons to carry out attacks had become a matter of serious concern. A statement by the President's Special Advisor on Media and Publicity, Mr. Femi Adesina, quoted him as saying, the frequency of attacks, the determination and resilience of the terrorist groups, as well as the ease with which they raise funds and acquire sophisticated weapons, are matter of serious concern which should engage our attention as a community. ECOWAS. Equally worrisome is the continuous spread of the menace of terrorism in the region and the growing link between terrorism and organized crime. This is why we must not relent in our efforts until we defeat the monster completely. And the best way to achieve this objective is through coordinated region actions and responses against terrorism, insurgency, banditry, and intercommunal disputes, while we also put in place policies and measures that will address their root causes, including the re-establishment and protection of livelihoods. Meanwhile, the ONSA's December 2019 document in Chapter 3 titled National Security Threat noted that Nigeria faced a rapidly changing world with a diverse range of threats which were multifaceted and less predictable, with blurred boundaries between external and internal risk factors. They require an integrative national strategy and cooperation within a framework of regional as well as international organizations and institutions, it added. The document also noted that even though the activities of the terrorists had largely been degraded by the combined efforts of the armed forces of Nigeria and other security agencies as well as the multinational joint task force, there were still concerns that the terrorist groups remained a threat. It added, the threat of terrorism and violent extremism has continued to change and challenge our security forces over the last decade. The splintering of Boko Haram terrorists into two factions has compounded the complexity of the threat environment. The objective of the factions is to undermine the public trust in government. This is in consonance with the rise in global terrorism as a strategic threat, with a significant increase in its logistical, financial, operational capabilities. The document, however, added the potential use of disruptive and emerging technologies remained a key concern, considering growing advances in this field and the possible attack on critical national information infrastructure, especially with the risk of such weapons and materials being acquired by terrorist groups. How we plan to combat the terrorists according to the federal government? It said, while pointing out its strategy to address the challenges, the federal government said it would conduct timely threat analysis and that, in recognition of that critical role of criminal justice in counter-terrorism, it will strengthen its criminal justice system, including investigation, evidence collection, and prosecution to bring terrorists to justice. It added, in furtherance of our national security objectives, we will sustain a whole of government approach through strong inter-agencies platform and mechanisms and strategic and operational levels to ensure the realization of counter-terrorism mandates. Under these special platforms, we will conduct timely threat analysis and share information at home and with our partners. In more specific terms, we will strengthen national finance systems in collaboration with international finance systems to prevent and disrupt terrorism financing. We will also deploy strategic communication in aid of security operatives. We will partner with domestic and international information technology companies to counter violent extremism narratives online. We will upgrade other border, maritime, aviation, and cyber security measures. The 2019 National Security Strategy document added that Nigeria, as a signatory to a number of international conventions on the non-proliferation of weapons of mass destruction and the peaceful use of CBRNE materials, would pursue this commitment to ensure peace and security. The document added there are known incidents of the use of explosive precursors such as ammonium nitrate by Boko Haram. The government also cautioned that the challenges that were likely to drive Nigeria's security priorities in the next 5 years, with both short and long-term implications, would be grouped as the following security threats: terrorism and violent extremism, banditry, kidnapping, militancy, and separatist agitations, pastoralist farmers conflict, transactional organized crime, piracy and sea robbery, porous borders, and cybercrime. It added that there might also be technology challenges and socio-political threats, fake news and hate speeches, environmental threats, public health challenges, economic challenges, and regional and global security challenges. The government, however, promised that it had prepared adequate response plans to each of the challenges. So guys, you've heard it all. I think the one thing that I really want to pick from all this whole thing, the reports that the Premier Times or the one of these newspaper media house talked about what the soldiers were complaining about, that they don't have a sophisticated equipment, the kind of a ammunitions or whatever the equipment they are using is obsolete. They are during the time of Shagari and they are still using it now. And now they are complaining. Up to now, they have not done anything. Now from the government's submission that we are going to. So with all the information they be getting about what this the equipment that all those terrorists are using, does it mean they've not been able to tackle and get these our soldiers the right equipment? What are they doing now? They are planning of how to use 37 billion naira to renovate, what is it called, National Assembly. Why we are having this serious challenges according to their own reports, according to their intelligence gathering reports, yet they are talking about 37 billion to renovate. Like I said, this 37 billion naira might not be up to that because it is all about inflation. It's all about padding. Now they have this problem on ground. They are pursuing one man that is the one that is a threat to national security, trying to link him with all these people. You can imagine the way they are doing. I think most of these people, they don't even have the knowledge on how to tackle this whole thing. Even the ones that were there before and the ones that are there now, they don't even have the solution to what we are facing and the challenges that we are having. They are just there moving around circles, the same thing, the same story. We what of the fighter jet, I mean, whatever the president went to meet Trump the other time. They talk is going to say he's going to be ready in 2021 or 2020. What happened? What are they saying about it? Our soldiers are just dying on a daily basis. You can imagine that kind of thing. We are going to, but you are going to be budgeting money for something that is not even as important as what you are telling us now. So guys, I would like to hear from you. Leave your comments below in the comment section. Thank you very much.